right, guys, welcome to another episode of Elevated and Chill. It's your boy CJ on the scene, tapping back in with you guys for another session. You already know what we came here to do. We came here to laugh, we came here to chill, but most importantly, we came here to catch a vibe. And like we always start off the sessions, let's kick it off with a vibe check. A little vibe check for myself, home team. I feel like this week was a little busy, jam packed, a lot of things going on. Uh, Work is work, life be lifing, but was able to get to dance twice this week. Went to the studio up in Portchester. Also went to the studio in the Bronx. So got 2 days worth of classes, and I think both classes were really great. I'm kind of like in like I wouldn't say like a restart mode, but more so like a refresh mode, and I guess you could say restart too. Like I might, because I'm in these beginner classes, and like I'm kind of like just really like honing in on my basic, honing in onto the basic moves, which is really beautiful. To be honest, I feel like it just sharpens your pen. And again, like the instructors are beautiful. The instructors are wonderful. They're really readily available to help. So yeah, again, Vita, go go follow them at Vita Dance Company on IG. Reach out to them. They're wonderful. Again, they have a location in Portchester, another location in the Bronx. So if you're in Westchester or you're in the city, you could go both ways. Um yeah, and the portfolio's coming along. I really want to get that out to you guys by, maybe around like hopefully by June. About like 80-85% done. I was actually cooking up yesterday some photos, some editing and stuff like that. So I'm hustling. I'm hustling. That's why I said this week has been busy. Yeah. So drop it in the comments. Let me know how you guys are doing, home team. I love doing this, just checking up on how are you guys doing mentally and stuff like that. Had therapy as well, which is always very helpful. Just to kind of like get my, clear my headspace and stuff like that. Um, Another thing too, by the time this episode airs, it will be Mother's Day. So I just want to say happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Truly blessed to have a mom. I know especially for my mom and you know all the moms out there. So again, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Go home team, go take your moms out, go wine and dine her, give her the whole shebang because they definitely deserve it. So again, happy Mother's Day. But like I said, everything has been very busy. So let's just hop right into it. Um the Met Gala. The Met Gala was passed. Um and yeah, you know what I mean? Like the Met Gala is kind of like one of like the biggest fashion events that's hosted. It's in New York. Um eh, and yeah, like just New York is like is very much like a hub for a lot of things, and it's a being a New Yorker, it's a great feeling to know that we have so much like culture and diversity here, and I think that's one of the reason why is that I'm proud to be a New Yorker, even though home team between you and I. Sometimes New York be bugging. Sometimes it gets a little hard to defend. With the whole hustle and bustle and all that stuff, and the odd things that they be doing. But overall, like I think a lot of culture comes from New York, and one of the events being is the Met Gala. The Met Gala is one of those events that take place every year. It's like kind of like a hub for a lot of celebrities to gather, share their fashion statements and express themselves. Um, and I wouldn't say it's the biggest fashion event in the world because I do feel like there's like a lot of fashion of like events in like Italy and France and stuff like that. But I definitely would say New York. And you know, piggyback, for the New York having a lot of culture. A lot of film, you know, a lot of music and finances even here. You know, yeah, and history is just here in New York. So there's a lot of just yeah, I don't home team. I'm sorry, I'm being redundant, but pop, it's just a lot of culture here, man. So shout out to New York. But the theme in the Met Gala was art is fashion, which is very broad. It's really up for interpretation on how you interpret what is fashion. Like what do you interpret it by art is fashion, like what do you gather from that? But it it's up to who it's up to whoever, you know what I mean? So a lot of people were there. Hope was there with Beyonce and Blue. They looked amazing as a family unit. Beyonce came in with like a skeleton kind of ish dress. And what I mean by skeleton, like kind of like the middle part looked like a backbone. But looked amazing, very elegant. Um, and a lot of the celebrities that did go, they did look elegant. They look very elegant. Do I think like it wasn't like a standout look for me, but at the same time, like it was something that like, all right, cool. Like this was like it still like looked be- beautiful and elegant. You know what I mean? For me personally, some of the standout looks were, Coma Domingo. He came in with like a royal, like all like not like a royal, but he came in with like a cummerbund with like a I want to call it like a suit, but the I want to say it kind of like a royal attire type of thing, but not really. But it was like flavored and checkered with some like really spiffy suit pants. And I just think like it definitely like stood out. Um, Unlike the kind of like the other people I'm gonna mention would be like Sam Smith. Yeah, he came in and like did what he had to do. To be honest, kind he really ate it up and embodied for me the theme of art is fashion is art. Another person was Sabrina Carpenter, which I think she kind of was for me a standout because her dress looked like it was kind of like a film reel, and I was like, "Whoa, that's kind of different." You know what I mean? And I think it fit her. It was classy, too. Janelle Monae was another one that really stood out. She kind of had like a naturey kind of themed dress going on, so you know, that kind of like stood out as well. For me personally, like Dwayne Wade was there, and like I think for Dwayne Wade kind of like started. I wouldn't say started, but like was a part of that movement in the NBA that like really was enhancing like their dressing and stuff like that. And you know, the thing about it is that you know it really showed at the Met Gala like it's kind of like the same repetitive things that him and Gabrielle the Union kind of like come with. Doesn't mean that they look off or whatever, but I think like, bro, like you couldn't like do something like a little bit different. You know what I mean? So, Hove came in like Hove came in with a regular like tuxedo to be honest, and Blue looked amazing too. So, but Hove again like. and that's the thing with Hove. Like, I don't think Hove was ever defined by his dressing. Like, don't get me wrong, like he'll put on fits and stuff like that, but like I don't think Hove was defined for his dressing. Like a D Wade or like a ASAP Rocky. Even like Russell Wilson. Like I wasn't really expecting much from Russell Wilson or Hove, but I'm not gonna lie to you, I kind of was expecting a little bit more from D Wade and Rocky. Even though Rocky for me looked he looked it's a good fit. I'm not gonna lie to you, but like I feel like for Rocky stature because you got to put him in that upper epsilon tier of like fashion people. Yeah, I think he definitely could have like done something like a little bit better. But you know yeah, so like for me the standouts were probably like those like kind of four people: Coleman, Sam Smith, Sabrina Carpenter, and Janelle Monáe. Off the top, there was a bunch of other celebrities at this event, but obviously, like, you know, I didn't see a lot of the fits. I know Bad Bunny popped up and he like kind of took inspo from the weekend and had like the old man look going on. So I think there's a lot of, again, it's art is fashion, and for the most part, a lot of people that went to the Met Gala was very, they interpreted the way they interpreted it. Some stood out for me, for others might have stood out. Like it kind of like varies on again the subjectivity of fashion is art, and it's kind of like up for your own interpretation. So yeah, like home team, drop it in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. Like keep the conversation going about what did you think about the Met Gala? Was there any standouts for you? How did you feel about it? And overall, like the cultural impact of the Met Gala. Like what to you is the importance of the Met Gala? And I think for me, it's more so like um just a way to put fashion on like fashion is something that people could flourish in and people could make a living off of. And I think a lot of these fashion designers are made a lot of these dresses and suits that a lot or attire that these celebrities were wearing. So it just it just puts another enhancement on like what fashion is, and what could be done to um you know as like a occupation, you know what I mean? Because I feel like in the earlier days it was like, you know, you're gonna be in fashion. Like, what is that? Like, it was all what is it? But now it's like you could make a living off fashion. If you put out a clothing line and it hits and it goes, it goes. The right person picks it up and wears it, you're golden. You know what I mean? So yeah, yeah, home team, drop in the comment, how do you feel about, again, like the standout looks? Did people execute the theme well? And overall, just like the overall impact of the Met Gala. So, definitely interested to see what you guys think, because this is it's a very broad theme and very subjective. So no wrong answers, just keeping the conversation alive and going. Well, this is gonna be like a arts kind of session today because we have fashion. We talked about the Met Gala, but one of the things that happened this week as well was French Montana versus Rick Ross. Versus is back. Previously, it was Tank versus I believe Tyrese, and then also damn, it was Cash Money versus No Limit. So that was versus, like I said, versus is back. They're doing a lot of like uh one on ones and stuff like that. And it's not really like a one on one because like I think it's more for the culture, just for like and individually to showcase like yo, like this is what we're doing here, and like just to appreciate music. You know, a lot of these artists, you know, and groups and stuff like that, they really put out a lot of music and you know kind of help progress the hip hop culture. So, you know, for me, it's just like kind of like being like a fanboy. This specific one is kind of interesting because well, first of all, French Montana is you know, obviously, you know, he has a catalog himself of, you know, just, you know, bangers you know, with the Coke Boy tapes and, you know, all like the smash hits, you know, Lockjaw and, you know, Unforgettable, you know, he has Shot Caller. Rick Ross obviously has his own set of hits as well. For me personally, I think Ross is like one of like the greatest featured artists. And what I mean by a featured artist, not like, you know, not like a like you would put like The Weeknd, Aubrey, slash Drake, which we're gonna we'll, we're gonna get into that. But you know, Aubrey, slash Drake, you know, Kendrick. These are people that are mainstream artists. You know, I think Ross is kind of a mainstream artist, but mostly like a lot of his you know, when you see a Ross feature, you're like, oh wait, I gotta tap into this. You know what I mean? So you know, Ross has a had a lot of features. Obviously, you know, he was featured on Hove's album. He's been featured on Drake stuff as well. He's been featured on you know, him and Meek Mill got a lot of bangers together. Uh, you know, he was featured on the weekend's no, I'm sorry, the weekend was featured on his project. I'm sorry. Push's album too. So you know, Ross got a lot of records out there that are very he got hits for sure. So Ross versus French. You know, for me, if I had to go with this, this is a tough battle because like I feel like this is a good matchup because you kind of could go both ways depending on what you're playing. I guess for me personally, I listen to a lot of more Ross. But I, when it comes to French, you know, he got bangers. You know, All the Way Up is another banger, and he has one of my favorite songs of all time is Unforgettable. So it's kind of like, you know, really what you listen to more. Um, in terms of like cultural impact, I think Ross just his level of like being like scratching the surface of the upper epsilon rappers in the game. You know, French had a lot of like radio and like club bangers that you know he really put on the put out there. So you know, like, but either way you slice it, both of these guys, you know, had their run. Both of them have a catalog, and you know they went round for round. I guess just the general consensus was, you know, French won 10-9. But I think overall, you know, I think it was just like a beautiful moment for hip hop. You know, just to run down the songs that were played. You know, French put out Shot Caller, Work, Ever Since You Left Me, All the Way Up, Loyal Remix, Mo Chicken, No Stylist, that's a banger. You know, All the Way Up is a banger. Ain't worry about nothing is a banger. I'm a Coke Boy, Lockjaw, Hot Nigga Remix, Don't Panic, Freaks, Sanctuary slash Mopstick, Unforgettable, again, one of my favorites. Stay Scheming. They both performed this, so that's why they probably was like, you know, the whole like take that out and then which works because now there's an odd number in the picture. It's not like a full. So they perform this together. They also perform Minx in Miami as well. But that was like their new song. And I guess they have two more new songs. See, okay, so I don't know. I don't really know how. All right. But Ross had, I'm not a star. That's a banger. Devil's a lie. I'm a boss. Aston Martin Music. Diced Pineapples. Angels. And also fuck with me. I got it. So hustling. Rich Forever. I'm not a star. He played again. That's kind of whack. Tears of Joy. MC Hammer. Here I am. Nine piece. All I do is win. Um, then he Oh, Devil in a New Dress. Yeah, he gotta play that. Pop that, Stay Scheming. And that's kind of crazy because, yo, that's kind of crazy because French didn't even play Pop that. They both got that, and then obviously Stay Scheming. Swung more to him and mixing it in Miami, but um, yeah, I mean, like Ross, like he played two tracks twice. He played I'm Not a Star twice. Which I don't know why he did that. To be honest, that's beyond me. But the thing with both of these guys is like they really have a lot of like like features from Drake. You know, French Montana got No Stylist and which one call it No Shopping, like kind of off the rip. Aston Martin Music is a track with Drake as well. Ross was on stated that he didn't, he wasn't gonna play it, which for me is like I don't really know where Ross's beef comes with Drake. Like I feel like Drake really put him on. Well, not put him on, but like Drake really enhanced his career. Drake was Ross is in that category of rappers that Drake was really dishing out a stimulus pack to. So like I don't know, man. I really don't know, to be honest. Like, you gotta really like, you can't be burning bridges out there. Like now, all of a sudden, like you think you the shit and stuff like that. Which I'll give you. You got bangers, but don't forget, Drake really blessed you with a lot of tracks, and he blessed a lot of people with a lot of tracks. And I'm a Drake. Me and Drake. Drake love hate relationship there, but I gotta give it to him. Like he is one of those artists, and like I said in the previous episode, I will be tapping into Iceman for sure. No hating involved. Like no hating is gonna stop me from listening to Iceman just off of the fact that Drake is Drake. That's point blank. Period. Like everything he touches is gonna be a hit record. Obviously. He enhanced a lot of these people's career. So you just gotta give credit to where credit is due. But for me personally, like, if I was going with somebody, I'll probably go with Ross just because I'm more apt to listen to Ross more than French. But French got bangers. Obviously, Unforgettable is one of my favorite songs of all time. It's just something that 2017, me in college was just fucking vibing to. And Sway Lee on the hook, it's a dope track. So I gotta give that to French. Like any and it's hard because the way it's looking is like Unforgettable went up against Devils in a New Dress, and I'm sorry, like I'm taking Unforgettable. That's a club smash. So yeah, I'm kind of excited to see what um the next verses is gonna be. Who's gonna step in the realm? Ross went twice. I believe French. This is French's first time. But like just on the topic of verses, I think verses again, like it was just a platform to have to showcase what hip hop is and like the different I wouldn't say like avenues, but like just like the legacy of like these like careers of these rappers, because there was Big Daddy Kane versus damn, what's this KRS-One. Obviously, my favorite one was Dipset versus the Lox. That was a crazy one. Jadakiss versus Fab. Ross. I believe he faced Two Chains, and that was a great battle. Jeezy versus Gucci. That was like the first time Gucci and Jeezy got on the stage together. And I think like I wouldn't say it buried their beef, but it kind of helped. It kind of helped like all right, like you stay over there, I'm gonna stay over here. Like there's no ill will, but kind of like keep your distance type of thing. Um, yeah, and like I think overall like versus is a way. Swiss Beast went up against his partner Timbaland, and I don't know if they're partners now, but I thought that was dope because like from a producer standpoint, like Swizz and Timbaland got some hefty bangers. You know, obviously Timbaland with Aaliyah, Missy Elliott, JT and all that stuff, and then Swizz with DMX. You know, they both have tracks with Hove, so like yeah, you just gotta like give it up to just what Versus is doing and what it stands for. And it kind of helped the pandemic. Like during the pandemic, like we didn't know what the fuck was going on. You know what I mean? Like everything was like kind of like up in the air and stuff like that. So, you know, it really helped smooth the COVID transition. So yeah, home team. Let me know what you guys thought about the battle. I want to say battle, the verses between French Montana and Rick Ross. They also previewed new music. So, Max B was there, and I think for Max B, it's a great thing that he's there. Obviously, like Max B's run in hip hop was a lot of people don't know about it, but it was very, he was really on that mixtape game, you know what I mean? So, with French. So, and French held him down. He came back home and French got him on tracks and all that stuff. So he really kind of held it down. So yeah, but French Montana won. But drop it in the comments, home team. Let me know what you guys thought about the verses. Who did you guys want to win? Were you guys satisfied with the tracks that were played? Should either one of them? Oh, by the way, speaking about what tracks that they should have played, uh the track versus featuring the weekend, I believe in vain. Yeah, it's in vain, featuring the weekend. Uh, he could have played that, and that's a track that's really like that's a banger. And you wanna know who I do want to see up in here? I wanna see I wanna see DJ Khaled up here. I don't know who he would face, but definitely DJ Khaled for sure. The biggest thing was like a 50 Cent versus Ti kind of versus. But obviously that's deaded. But I don't know. I gotta rock with 50 because I would be more apt to listen to. But Ti got some bangers too. So yeah. Also, and whole team also add in who would you guys like to see a versus? I think the biggest thing is everybody wants to see Hove hopping up versus. Um, but a lot of people were seeing like who could step in the ring with Hove, and it's just like I think Kanye could step in a ring with Hove. Drake could step in a ring with Hove. I'm gonna say Kendrick could, no Wayne, could step in the field in the ring with Hove. So I think there's people that can do it. I just think like I mean the ideal situation would be Jay-Z versus Nas, but they're doing their own thing. They're out there, making moves and stuff like that. So, like I said, overall versus is just it's a great thing for hip hop. Just to showcase catalogs and what these artists mean to the culture. Now going into our mid segment of chilling ass. You guys are lovely with this, as always, giving me great questions and staying engaged in this segment. But the chilling ass question is number the first chilling ass question is: do you think the Met Gala is still about pushing fashion forward, or is it more about who goes viral the fastest now? Uh I think in a Dage, I said a Dage. Wow, brought me back to my college days of daging. LOL. But sidebar on team. Uh, but in a day of social media and stuff like that, I think that might be the lens that people might see it. Like some people might want that viral moment, because the Met Gala is like kind of like one of the more important events in the culture. But I think like most importantly, like it's just really pushing fashion forward. Like if I'm not mistaken, some one of the celebrities I was reading had like a an attire made by Pharrell Williams. And obviously Pharrell is now he's the head of Louis Vuitton, and I think that's big in itself because coming from where Pharrell comes from, like it's something that just in generally speaking for the hip hop culture, you know what I mean? So I think a lot of like hip hop, and movie stars are like really pushing the the uh the fashion forward, generally speaking. Like a lot of people are coming, doing things out of the box. ASAP Rocky is one of the people that, you know, off the top of my head I could think of. And like I feel like a select group of people would be at the Met Gala. So it's not really for like a person to be getting clickbait or something like that. I just think overall, like it's I will lean more to pushing fashion forward and kind of like stepping on the box and expressing yourself and not really caring what other people think and and stuff like that. I really think it's more so yeah, just about pushing fashion and most importantly, like I said, about more expression than anything, like expression of yourself, which then pushes fashion forward because it is art. So yeah, I think that's my perspective on that question, and that's a great question in itself. Like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, beautiful question. Second question is versus what matters more, a deep solo catalog or one of features that define the culture? Um, I mean, I feel like, kind of like adjacent to this is like I feel like if you're at a concert and you're doing and you're performing, and if you're performing a lot of your own hit records, that just shows what your pen does as an artist. But not to mention, not to say that like if you do a feature, like would that feature, does that say anything about you as an artist if you have like a series of features? Like no, like I just said, like Ross has for me, Ross is a great featured artist. But he does have a lot of like solo hits as well. But I think more so like just it's like a combination of both, but obviously like you want your body of work to speak, you know what I mean? Like if you have a if you're doing a verses and like 20 of your songs are all features, and I think that's a problem because like, you know, that's not really your song. Like it is your song, but not really your song versus like if you did all the verses and it's all your tracks and it's going off. Like I think somebody like Kanye could do that. Like imagine like I mentioned and, when we were talking about the French previously like in the French French versus Ross, like Kanye like can't tell me nothing. I wonder shit, even some of his new stuff like, you know, off the grid, real friends, Father Stretch My Hands, obviously any fucking song from My Beautiful My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, Devil in a New Dress, Runaway, Dark Fantasy, like there's a lot of Monster, Soul Paul, like right, and those are all his tracks. Those are all his tracks. Those are not even future tracks. Those are all his tracks. Drake could do the same thing. I know for me, if Drake was to ever do a verses and fucking Fire and Desire comes out, that shit is being anything. To be honest, like Fire and Desire is one of Drake's side B's that is a gem. It's probably one of his best songs in my opinion. Fire and Desire. So yeah, no, I think if you have a deep solo catalog, I think that matters the most because it's an attestment to what you are as an artist and the body of works that you put out. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's the more important thing in hip hop is the body of work, the level of the level of uh love and time and effort and that you put into the art form. It's like a director. Like nobody wants to like co-direct. Like like a when you think about like directing, or even if like if you're a designer, like you co-design, it's like damn, it's like. But when you did this yourself and you have these like on under your belt, it's like, oh well, I did boom, 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 boom. So I think I'm a lean more. I'm definitely I'm not leaning. I'm in favor of a deep solo catalog run. Um, but I feel like in a versus, like if you got some banging features out there, like yo, like you go play that for sure, like But you know, and again, correlating with a concert vibe, like I remember when I went to in 2022 when I saw Kendrick. And when I saw Kendrick, I was amazed because the only featured song that he did was Family Ties. That's it. All all of his songs that he played were from him. And I feel like he had I wouldn't say he had no choice, but like he played Family Ties because Baby Keem is there. So like you gotta play Family Ties, But like, if it wasn't for Baby Keem not being there, I think he did a whole concert on his tracks, and that's pretty impressive. Drake does the same thing, like a lot of the tracks that Drake plays is his, mind you. Yo, listen, going back to that verses and featured artists and stuff like that, like yo, Drake gave both French and Ross "Stay Scheming," and that's a big record. And the thing is that I'm not gonna lie to you, Drake did French grimy because Drake went before French, and French is he because like it was like Ross, then Drake, then French, and it's like damn, bro, like Drake killed that. So how do you follow up with that? So yeah, yeah. If you have like a verses and it's all full of features, and it's like it's your record, like you're on it, but it's not yours. You can't claim it as yours. You hopped on it, you know, it's in your catalog, but it's not your catalog. It's mixed in with somebody else's. Um, yeah, home team. Drop them in the comments. Let me know what you guys think, and also let me know how you guys feel about the Met Gala pushing forward or on fashion forward, or is it more about who goes viral the fastest? Keep the conversation going. Let me know what you guys think, home team. Um, Yeah, another question, the third question of the Channel 9 segment is, do movies still aim to tell timeless stories, or are most films now designed to chase the moment rather than last for generations? I I think my answer to this is depends on who's directing. Like I think if you get a director who is very intentional, they're gonna make a timeless, like a timeless story that's gonna, like, I think a movie like Hamlet is gonna last like a lifetime. Just because the way it tells the story, but it takes modern acting and meshes both worlds. Oh, I think it was an amazing job. Like, and Inception from Christopher Nolan. Obviously, like Casino and Goodfellas from Martin Scorsese. Taxi Driver, Raging Bull. Interstellar. Uh, The Godfather. Um, yeah, like these are just films, like, and there's obviously more. Like Parasite is another one. That these are timeless movies that last a long time. You know what I mean? Like people still watch these movies. You know what I mean? So I think when it comes to like when it really comes down to films, I think today I like a lot of like directors, like Ryan Coogler is a fairly new director, and he's making time. I think Sinners is gonna be a time that people are gonna go back and be like, wow, this is a great watch. And I think someone like something like I can't really, for me personally, like the movies I like to watch, they're naturally they're gonna be like more apt to be timeless. But I do think some directors are now like kind of just chasing a moment, and I feel like in art you can't chase a moment because the moment is just a now. But you want your project to live forever. That's anything in art. Like you don't want something that's in the now or just hopping on a trend. Like you want to do something because it's you. What's your interpretation of it? Like, what's your vision for it? And like, once you can see that, like for example, like I'm watching this show called The Offering. That is basically how The Godfather was made. And Francis Ford Coppola directed The Godfather, and he had a vision for it. And obviously, he really forced a lot of what was in the movie to happen. You know what I mean? Like he fought for Al Pacino, and that's a big one because you can't see nobody else fitting that role of Michael Corleone, but that's Al Pacino. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of most directors are making those timeless stories, but some I've seen movies like um there was a there was a movie with Coma Domingo that just came out. I saw it last year, and I don't even know. I forgot the name of it because to me it was just so it was terrible. It was about a game, like a game type of thing. It was kind of like similar to like Squid Games, and I feel like they were kind of like doing like a Squid Games type of vibe, and it just didn't. The movie just didn't hit. Like it was just like, what is this? Um, Wuthering Heights is another one that I heard bad reviews on. Like it's like what's going on here? Like, are you just trying to like redo a story, or are you trying to like make it yours? And I think that's the difference. You make the film yours rather than trying to remake it. Um, so yeah, long-winded answer, home team, but let me know what you guys think. Drop it in the comments. Um, well, this question kind of segues into just the next kind of what we're like, what what's on the agenda, and really, it's about the Odyssey. The Odyssey is one of the premier movies that are gonna be shown. And it's obviously about Odysseus kind of like finding his way, after the Trojan War and stuff like that. That because he was a soldier there. Um, and this is important because like I think Christopher Nolan is taking a challenge on taking mythology and trying to make it not modernize it, but more so like make it so an ancient story could be visually and interpreted by a modern crowd, because you got to understand like this is like about so it's so long ago that you know a lot of what the elements that were probably in that story, it's yeah, you know what I mean, like it'll be kind of hard to like mask it, not mask it, but embody it. So I think Christopher Nolan is a creative swing for him to do this, but I think if anybody could do it, it's Christopher Nolan. Um, is he elevating this story by adding in a contemporary lens, but you without stripping away the feeling of the story? Um, I don't know because I haven't seen the movie, to be honest, and I think like a lot what we do as a fan base and as critics, we tend to like, oh, the trailer dropped, like this is what the movie's gonna be about, like, it's ass. And it's like, all right, like it's like 3 minutes, like it's like 2 minutes of the movie. I think you need to like really see the movie to answer that question of is it good? You can't just automatically assume like, oh yeah, like this is a movie and this is the movie and that's it done. I think you really need to watch it and see how it is. You know what I'm saying? But it's definitely going to be tough because like I said, you're taking an ancient story and you're we're in the year 2026 and you're trying to like bridge the huge gap, and that's the difficulty. Because I know what the Odyssey is, but because I'm a history buff, but maybe a person just going to watch this or a younger person might not know what this movie consists of. So again, it's the bridging the gap of contemporary versus mythic. You know what I mean? It's bridging that gap. Um, yeah, for me watching this, I think for me personally, like the visuals, it's very intense. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think again, like one thing for me, and this was a kind of what critics were saying, but they kind of like ran with it. Like yeah, like it does have like that English the English accent to it and stuff, the American accent to it. And obviously like you would want some sort of like Greek dialect in there, but you know, maybe that's how Christopher Nolan was like bridging the gap. You know what I mean? Like I gotta see the movie again to like really like answer that question of like the visuals and all that stuff. But from the trailer, like for me personally, like it did look good. Obviously, like he has a lot of actors in that movie that are A-list. Robert Patterson. He has Zendaya in it. Tom Holland is in it. Matt Damon, Anne Hathaway. And I think they all do a good job in their role. Like I feel like Anne Hathaway playing the Penelope, that's a good fit. I feel like Tom Holland playing the son, that's a good fit. Robert Pattinson, you know playing that antagonist is and he's playing two villains. You know what I mean? So um yeah, like I'm just overall excited for this movie to come out. I really don't want to like give my full opinion because I don't know what the movie is yet gonna be like. So like I think it really varies on how when the movie comes out, how it's perceived, and what's the shot. So that's when you should judge a movie when you saw the whole body of work. But I think for the first glimpse of it, I'm like, for me, it's intriguing because I'm just a history buff, so I'm interested to see the bridging of the gap. And like I said, like the dialogue, the dialect thing, threw me off a little bit, But at the end of the day, like listen, we're also in the year 2026, and you can't really like judge the whole film based off just that one aspect. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like I said, I'm interested to see what Christopher Nolan does. Especially from the fact that like he just his last movie Oppenheimer came from it was kind of like a story from the past, but it was a little more, I guess you could say, contemporary. Uh, and I won an Oscar, so I'm really interested to see where this this kind of lands for him. Uh, Ludwig is I get Grossen is doing the score as well, so I think the music behind it is going to be really intriguing. Also, so I'm just overall excited for this movie. So Home team, drop it in the comments. Let me know what you guys thought about the Odyssey premiere. And yeah, moving into our last segment of the session, elevated and chill. Elevated and chill is sponsored by co-star. You know, whenever you're ready to send over that check, let me know. Uh, but this elevated advice I have for you, home team, is prepare the stage for deep conversations. And I feel like this is important because I feel like this is a part of life. It's about having these deep conversations, whether it be personal or in your work field or with a friendship. That kind of falls into personal. But you're gonna have these tough conversations all the time, and I think it's important to have them. And they will get uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like you will get vulnerable, and you will touch on things that maybe you're doing wrong, and you're getting constructive criticism and stuff like that. I think it's just always good to have an open dialogue and having those tough conversations. And those tough conversations, they don't look pretty, but they're necessary, and they're necessary for your growth and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's my interpretation of that elevated advice. Home team, let me know what you guys think. Drop your elevated advice in the comments. We always like to end off the podcast in the session with positivity. So let me know what your elevated advice. Maybe it can help somebody else in the comments or brighten somebody else's day up. But home team, as always, it's always a pleasure. Uh, we're on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the bell, check us out. Home team, we're on 6 p.m. for everybody on the East Coast. 3 p.m. Pacific time on the West Coast. And yeah, as always, I'll see you guys on the flip side. I'll catch y'all.